As we continue our celebration of Passion Week, we come to the Last Supper. Now, most of us like to go to someone's house for dinner or maybe host a dinner ourselves, and sometimes we like to go out to eat. My husband and I love to have dinner with my husband's cousin and his wife. It's our chance to catch up. We live about an hour away from each other, so we don't see each other as often as we would like. Sometimes they come to our house, sometimes we go to their house, and most often than not, we meet halfway. We enjoy being with them. It's a time to laugh and a time to share our ups and downs. They are family, but they are our close friends as well. Jesus has gathered the people who are the closest to him, his 12 disciples, for dinner around the time of Passover. We see a picture of the Last Supper that some guy named Leonardo da Vinci made famous. That picture is very popular, but not necessarily accurate. The table that Jesus and his disciples would have set out would have been low to the ground. And they come to this supper, and something is about to change. Jesus has been trying to prepare his disciples because he knows his mission here is about to be fulfilled. The disciples don't really understand. I'm not sure what they were expecting, but I'm sure they weren't expecting what Jesus was about to do. And we pick up this story in John chapter 13. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God, and he would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with a towel he had around him. Now, it was a custom at the time when you had a guest over for dinner, you would wash your guest's feet. Well, actually, a servant would do it because, let's face it, it was a dirty job. Walking on dusty roads made for some dirty feet. If you've ever been camping or to Creation Fest or have a child that likes to run around barefoot, you know that feet can get pretty dirty. Because the table was low to the ground, your feet would not have been hidden under the table. Maybe at your house you require people to take off their shoes when they enter, but you probably don't require them to wash their feet. The foot washing usually came at the beginning of the meal, but Jesus gets up after the meal started, and he starts washing feet. Kind of odd. Have you ever gone to someone's house for dinner and maybe their traditions are different than yours? Maybe they go around and say something before they eat, or hold hands while they pray, or maybe they pass food in a different direction than you're used to. But I can honestly say no one's ever gotten up and washed my feet at dinner. When Jesus gets up, I'm sure his disciples are like, what's he doing? And now, one by one, he washes their feet. Did he talk to each one as he washed their feet, reflecting on their time together, the good times, the hard places? He knew each of these men very well. He knew their gifts, he knew their shortcomings, and the scripture tells us that he loved them very much. When he got to Judas, the one that would betray him, what was he thinking? How it must have hurt to know that someone he loved and trusted would do such a thing, would give him over to be killed. But yet Jesus washed his feet. He still showed his perfect love to him. His heart must have been overwhelmed with grief. Jesus was showing them he came to serve. Think about that for a moment. The King of Kings, the Son of God, came to serve. He was washing feet. We pick up with verse 6. When Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? And Jesus replied, you don't understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will. No, Peter protested, you will never wash my feet. And Jesus replied, unless I wash your feet, you won't belong to me. Simon Peter explained, then wash my hands, my head as well, Lord, not just my feet. Peter just didn't understand. How could he? Now the disciples seemed to need a lesson in humility. They had been having arguments about who was the most important or who was the greatest among them. They were so caught up in themselves that they don't even offer to wash each other's feet. And they don't seem to grasp what Jesus is doing. They see him washing feet, but it never occurs to them to join in. Peter knows he doesn't want Jesus to wash his feet. He's not worthy. And he tries to tell Jesus what he should do. And I wonder, are we like that sometimes? Are we missing what Jesus has for us? Are we missing the example he set for us because we know best, because we're caught up in ourselves? Are we missing opportunities to serve others because we're busy trying to be who we think we are or how important we are? Maybe we think we're above foot washing, so to speak. That's for someone else to do. As I'm reflecting on this scripture, our world has changed in just a few short weeks. Life is different. For many of us, the busyness that consumed us has come to a halt. We have a little more time on our hands than we did, and we have a whole lot of people who could use some help. Maybe this is the perfect time to start washing some feet. Not in the literal sense, of course. After all, we have to maintain our 6-foot social distancing rule. But now is the perfect time to serve others, to work together. Maybe your neighbor needs their lawn mowed. Maybe you could get a little extra food and drop it off at someone's house, or send a note to someone. Whatever it may be, there are a ton of ways to help and encourage others. Maybe our own feet need a little washing too. Ask God to help us with our attitude we may be holding on to, or our selfishness, whatever it may be that keeps us from serving others. We need to use every opportunity to share the love that Jesus poured out to us and be his hands and feet to everyone around us. When Jesus is done washing their feet, he says this in verse 15, "I have given you the example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I tell you the truth, slaves are no greater than their master, nor is the messenger more important than the one who sends the message. Now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them." And may God bless you as you follow Jesus' example and look for ways to serve others.